gives us the knowledge about what particular activity should I conduct if at all I have to be successful in the completion of a procedure. There is a mechanism that fails. This manual should help me to fix that mechanism in place so that the work does not stagnate. And essentially, because it is giving us all the instructions related to how to perform a task or a procedure, it's essentially a how to do it document. How do I do that? How do I insert the plug in the socket? Which way do I turn the knob? How do I run the mixer grinder? For example, if I take the simplest of the examples, as a result, whoever writes a manual bears in mind that he is writing it for a kind of people who may not have that technical knowledge. So they plan it very, very carefully, and they perform all the tasks even before they start writing. On performing, they note down how the steps are going on, and accordingly they list it out. If at all I buy a machinery, it has to be installed. For example, for mixer grinder, I get instruction manual. For a washing machine, I get a user manual. User manual definitely has instructions as a part of it. User manual is required because I should know about the requirements of the electricity, the socket, etc. Only after that I will be able to perform the operations, the different functions, the different keyboard facilities given on the washing machine will not be useful for me if I don't read the manual. If I maybe I can operate it just like that, I may be making certain mistakes. In this particular case, people say you should read a manual before you set out to operate some equipment of which you are not really aware of. So it also gives me, as a result, manual writing in general could be related to user manual, instruction manual, or operations manual. Whichever is the manual I undertake to write, I should have an overall knowledge on how to do a task, how to install a piece of equipment, how to use it and run it and maintain the product. Product maintenance manuals are also available these days because sophistication is increasing. As a result, complications are also increasing simultaneously. In order to avoid any confusion related to that, we are going to design, I mean, people design manuals and they sell it out along with the product. Fine then. It informs people what to do when the product gives trouble or stops working. In case of some kind of unexpected problem, how you start setting it right. What are the uses of a manual? It gives instructions to customers, management staff, and also the customers. For example, we are at the level of customers when we buy a product. So it helps me on how to use the product. Management staff pertaining related to a particular organization where so many teams are involved and working together in devising the product, so they also will be given a manual on how to develop, how to set. And apart from that, technical people on how to use the equipment. Other than that, other departments or organizations on how to liaise their operations, how should they collaborate, cooperate, and continue to run the device so that they can write the manual in an appropriate manner. There are types of instructions that can be given with reference to manuals. Of course, manual, what we are discussing at this moment is purely related to written instructions only. But there are certain things that need not be written orally. Someone can convey, and people can just operate and continue to use the product. But sometimes when we talk about written instructions, they should be clear and simple so that it does not cause or lead to any kind of confusion in completing a particular procedure. Okay. So what are the instructions for writing a manual? Whenever you set out to write a manual, you should know who are your audience and what is the situation in which you are writing a manual. For example, you are writing a manual when you are developing a product. Okay, when you are developing a product, the product does not arise into its particular form or a shape overnight. There would be many phases that the product has to pass through in order to be complete in all respects. In such a case, you should break down those processes into number of tasks or list them accordingly, and then you should start writing your manual. Apart from that, you should have a sense, you should identify who is your audience, who are going to read this particular piece of writing. If it is entirely related to the higher hierarchy, like the scientists, the technical people, the core engineering branches, or the people related to some research activities, then you can take off at a particular point. You can start writing from that particular level. Otherwise, if you are writing for ordinary people also, then you should vary your language style. You have to explain, provide information related to each and every term used in the manual. Okay, be flexible while writing a manual, because sometimes, be flexible in the sense, not as a person, in your kind of writing, in your tone of writing. List the number of tasks that have to be performed with the help of a manual. Then break down the task into single task and make arrangement of subdivisions, so that entire task is one set of instruction. So after listing out the tasks, go with the step by step discussion and list the number of tools that are associated with the equipment, so that how to people will be informed of how to make use of these particular tools. If you feel there are number of related tasks, rather than listing them one after the other and making it too lengthy, you can also group the tasks together. Features of a manual. Every manual has some important features. One is the source of information, the parts of the equipment, and the style of operation as well as the language. We'll see in detail what are those. Source of, right, when you start writing your manual, source, how are you getting the information when you are setting up the instructions? First, you will be operating it yourself as a writer of a manual. You will execute each and every task. You will stop and check whether everything is going smooth or not. So that is your experience that you are putting it firmly in active voice. Please remember, manuals are always written in active voice, because lengthy sentences will confuse the reader. Just they are imperations. Instructions are always imperative in tone. So this is how you would be writing your manuals. And apart from my own experience, suppose somebody is an observer along with me when I am writing the tasks, when I am operating a machine, they would also notice certain things and they would give me that information. So definitely I will have to consider that information too when I put it in my source. And I browse the internet. Definitely all of us would be doing that, and that is also going to be a major part of in manual writing. Analyze the information and transform it into step by step information, what to say, instruction. I have a one page length of information with me. As a person who is well versed with equipment, I know how to operate it, I know how to break it into paragraphs and all. But when I have to pass it to my readers, I should start thinking from their perspective, and that is when I break it down into step by step instructions. If I read with a critical eye, I will realize that I might be, the readers might be getting a doubt somewhere or other. So I have to, uh, what to say, I should identify those needs and the problems that could be anticipated, and clearly define them well before hand, so that they don't stop reading the manual at any point. And manual writing goes with a sequence. As a result, I organize the information in a sequential pattern. If some step is missing, entire operations comes to a screeching halt. It gets stopped abruptly. For that reason, I should check all the steps very, very meticulously and list them down and number them down accordingly. And that's when I would be completing my part of writing. What parts are there? That is a structure of a manual. It has a cover page. If you remember, some 2 or 3 weeks back, I brought 2 to 3 pamphlets to the classroom. I showed you one pamphlet related to sphygmomanometer, that is a BP apparatus. The other one related to, I don't remember, maybe prestige cooker or something. I brought three together. So if you can recollect that, you can relate these number of parts to the manual that I have already shown and discussed with you. Any which way, I have one important sample manual also here. Table of contents, list of illustration. Manual definitely is a technical writing. Definitely, it is a technical writing at the higher level, which is mandatorily makes use of list of figures and tables and schematic representation of the apparatus or the equipment that is under discussion, and breaking down the parts scheme. The entire diagram is given as one unit. Apart from that, the components of each and every component of the equipment is also segregated and presented and represented, so that people know how to fit. If it is related to some kind of installation, people know how to start operating and where from to start operating a particular knob or a switch button, something like that. So they give that as schematically, it is represented in a beautiful manner. A small introduction would also be given. Yeah, I remember in my last session that I dealt with you, I shared with you on my laptop itself, though it was not visible to all. Airlow security camera. You remember that? How many instructions were related to that security camera? Fine then. Main body, headings and subheadings, appendices, if at all additional information is needed, glossary and index. Glossary of terminology used, index or like where you can find this so and so word in this particular manual. The style of language style, when it comes to language style, it should be simple and plain and concrete and specific. Concrete in the sense, you cannot use vague terms with reference to quantity as well as quality. You have to be very very particular about it. You cannot say rotate it sometimes or turn the knob a few times, nothing of the sort. Rotate the knob 7 times in anti-clockwise direction. That is specific information. Fine. So think about the language. You might have a question, students, if at all you are there online. Do we need it? Yes, it is a tested, repeated question where you need to definitely write something. They would ask you, device user manual, or write a draft user manual for a new smartwatch devised by you. So, new smartwatch, you will draw a picture. Apart from that, what are the specific parts in the smartwatch? What are its features? Everything would be given by you, and how you are going to let the user operate it. That would be provided in the form of instructions to the user. A simple thing though, but it speaks about to what extent you are able to think. Okay. There should be proper use of terminology, abbreviations, and symbols. It should have clarity in sense of information as well as accuracy with reference to grammatical structure. Structure of a manual. What are the different how can it be organized? Plan the instructions carefully by giving the procedures, explaining about the scope, indicating the needs. And sometimes people also use general warning if it is a small piece of equipment. But if it is a huge machinery or huge equipment, danger and caution are definitely associated. Okay. Types of manuals. What are the different types of manuals? Instruction manuals, user manual, product manual, operation manuals. Features between instructions manual and user manual overlap. Every user manual will have instructions as a part of it. So we will be looking at only one of these kinds. Product manual is related to entirely the product details, the specific features of the product. And if at all it has to be assembled, what are those steps? But not more than that. Operations manual is associated with companies, organizations. It's something like a rule book, standard operation procedures, right? These are the different types of manuals we are going to look at. Now, let's have a look at operations manual. Hare, just a minute. I downloaded one particular sample. Fine then. We'll look at user manual because I have a sample also here. Chalo. What is a user manual? A document intended to give assistance to people on how to use a product. I bought a product, I should know how to use it, where from I should begin. So, this is a kind of supporting document given to me on the purchase of a product. It assists the users how to use a product safely and effectively. For its effective use, I should know the maximum features of it. That's when I can use it effectively. What are the contents of a user manual? See, more or less all the manuals have the similar parts: a cover page, a title page, sometimes a copyright page. If it is a patented product, they give all the details pertaining to that. Preface is like a foreword. Precautions of usage, table of contents, introduction and description. That is what the manuals contain. Contents of a user manual contain. How to write a user manual: define your audience, describe the problem, break down the steps further for simplification, describe it, describe each and every detail very, very thoroughly, but in a very precise manner. Stick to the topic at hand. For example, I have a smartwatch. Define your audience. Consider who is going to be your audience. Tell them what is this smartwatch about. Describe the problem. If at all a problem is there that you are likely to encounter, present that problem like in the form of a troubleshoot or something, and then explain how that problem can be rectified. For example, you have to fix certain things even before you start using the smartwatch or something. So you have to link it with your mobile, something like that, so that you everything can be seen even on the watch. That's a new featured product. Majority of the students have it, they possess it. So break down the tasks of instructions into simpler ones. Describe them to the maximum possible extent, but being using less number of words. And do not digress when you're talking about one particular procedure. Do not mix up the procedures, especially when you are talking about a user manual related to a product. You need to, because it also serves some. See, manuals do not only give instructions to people, they also serve the commercial purpose. Like they also help people to propagate their sales. So take awesome photos and use only active voice. Avoid using the first person. You don't have to say you. Simply an imperation is sufficient enough. Use a template that is very popular or that is designed by the company. General guidelines for user manual. These are a few things. It includes a one page quick startup guide. Yeah, when you buy a laptop, also they give you a small booklet like thing, 4 to 6 pages. But apart from that, they give a one sheet handout like thing. It's like a quick start guide. By following that, you can simply start the laptop and start using it. Yeah, user manual has one particular feature. It tells the what functions there are and what they are for. It also gives them an overview of the different specific features, but not just how to operate it. The knowledge on how to operate a particular piece of equipment is not quite sufficient for me, but I should also be informed of what are the different features that are available with this particular so and so product. It makes sure the writers have the product. This is one important difference. Instructions can be written by anyone when somebody explains them, but when you're writing a user manual and including instructions related to its usage, the writer should know what is a product. He should understand how each and every component of the product functions and actually use it before writing the manual. That is very, very important. Writing a good user manual requires a good technical writing. As such, writing skill requires a lot of practice. Even if you ask me to write a user manual, I will refuse initially. I will take some time, work at it. Only then I will say, yes, I can do that. Know why you are writing this user manual. This is something like a repetition. Tips on writing user manuals. Think like a user. Repeatedly, I might have told you. This is one important clue that you should consider. Active voice is needed when you are writing user manual. Write clearly and concisely. Directly address the reader. Focus on the manual on the reader. Establish standards. How to use the relevant user manual template. A manual that enables first run of product ship on time with no delays and passing customs without any problems. First run of the product to ship on time. Product has been launched and it is the first time it is setting out. By the time the product is out into the market, your manual should be ready even prior to that, so that you have set everything, you have experimented at each and every phase and written the manual. Clear instructions on how to install and use the product will be definitely a part of this manual. Safety instructions, precautions, etc., etc., etc. Fine, I'm going to click on this. A manual that meets the legal IEEE. Okay, I set it last year, I added it. Fine. Let's have a look at this sample. I hope it comes. User manual template. General information, system overview, organization of. Fine, yeah. I don't want to share this because I am not really happy about it. I'll share with you some other sample. Actually, what is this standard? IEEE transaction. It's something difficult to be achieved. No need. Okay. I'm sharing with you this sample now. Instruction manual, digital sphygmomanometer. Okay. This is something like a cover page. Okay. Um, Second page is all about instruction manual. What are the contents over there? You have a picture of, there's no picture provided. It is a title page. It's a cover page. Then the table of contents where each and everything is related. It's something like, because it's a product that also has to be advertised most often times. You have a word from the manual writer to the customers. There are 12 fields mentioned under the table of contents, each field on one particular page. Manuals are also written in many languages at the same time because the products are not manufactured only in India. We import many products, and people, when they set out to write the manuals, they also use translators to write it appropriately for the proper usage. What is it related to, dear customers? Congratulations. This is, goodwill. In the first place, it's something like a goodwill. Patent, applicable patent, environment for use. So they are clearly instructing the customers, whoever have purchased this particular product, to use it in so and so condition and situation. Features, measurement, easy to use, safety. It is safe because it doesn't have something to do with the electrical, socketing or something. Then preliminary remarks about the product. Compliance. It is in compliance. If something is non-compliant, it is not meeting the standard requirements. If it is in compliance, it is meeting the standard requirement guidelines proposed by some council, medical council or someone. So it is in compliance with European directive for medical products. It is very clearly mentioned over there. Then definitions. They have used some abbreviations like things cis, dia, pul, exhaust, constant exhaust. Each because the manual might be showing off some symbols like that, wherein you can talk about, wherein you can relate to that. Batteries, because this is operated on insertion of batteries. What kind of batteries are we supposed to use? And while using batteries, some people say maybe one is new, the other one can function, so they give the instructions very clearly. This is generally known, people overlook it, but when you are not using it, sometimes batteries get discharged. As a result, the liquid, the fluid flows out of it, so they say remove from the instrument. And also, what is a defective sphygmomanometer? Why, when do you understand that it is not working? This is not working. Stop using the device if it does not work properly. How do I understand that it does not work properly? There might be too many errors popping on the screen. That's when I should stop using it. Training. Do we need to get training from people? What kind of repairs do appear? Then blood pressure measurement. How is it to be taken? How is it to be considered? Etc. This is something, see, I might use the cuff over my arm and check my blood pressure. But it would not help me if I do not read this part of the manual. Definitely, for sure, because if I don't read it, I may not insert it properly, I may not take the reading accurately. For these reasons, we need to know about this. Notes for proper use. How should you use it? Related to storage, before using, how should a person be, how should the device be set, etc. And during use, what should not the person be, the patient be doing? Because some people move the arm, some people talk a lot, there will be variations in the BP reading and all, so you aren't supposed to do that like that. After use, what should you do? You should roll it off and put it in the cover so that it does not accumulate dust, because dust, we can wipe off. If it goes inside, it might malfunction. Then maintenance, calibration, we call it as, exactly, it is written here. See, you can see the word calibration, because I may feel my by taking too many readings from this particular machine, I may feel it's quite good, but outside with a clinical machine also I should get it evaluated. That's when I say it is calibrated, it is intact, both the readings are proper. Contraindication, something that is not appropriate. So these are few instructions related to contraindications. Parts identification, how to identify, because I told you when we write manuals we give importance to figures, diagrams, tables, etc. So this is definitely one pic or a diagram. What are the different parts? Pressure bar display, numerical display, it is where your BP appears. Marker button, on off button, exhaust valve, rubber bulb, this is what is squeezed to test your pressure, cuff connector and cuff. Batteries, band for attaching a stethoscope on the arm. Maybe this is something used only by trained people. What we have is a digital one that we can just insert and press the button. That's it. Its job is done. On off button. What does it do? What is the function of each and every? See, they have given a number of things on the left hand side. What is the function of each and everything? Turns on or off the device. Marker button during measurement puts a marker at a pressure valve. After turned off, indicates a lifetime counter. Numerical display indicates the pressure reading, right? Display. Now they have given each and every button what is its function. Then they are also talking about the display here, right? The display that appears here. Battery indicator 128 unit of pressure, pressure value. 59 pulse rate, unit of pulse. These are two digits that indicate high and low of the lifetime counter. This is like E, I believe. It's not like even Z. Oh. Symbols that are used on the machine and what is a function, what is a meaning. If at all you find any of these symbols, what are we supposed to do immediately? On off button, stand by and turn the device on. Marker, battery installation guide, serial number, date of manufacture, type BF, device, cuff and tubing are designed to provide special protection against electrical shocks. Full battery. If you have a battery symbol flashing like this, error battery. Error 1, pressure remains in the cuff. It is not released. Error 2, measurement over time. Error 3, device is out of order, sent for service. mmHg is mercurial pressure, unit of pressure. Beats per minute, that is unit of pulse. Yeah. EC directive medical device label CE0123. Another symbol represents W triple E label. Manufacturer, who is the manufacturer? Maybe the country has this particular manufacturer assigned this particular label, so this is what it represents. EU representative. Refer to instruction manual. If you have any doubt, if the symbol flashes like this, you need to refer to the manual. Using the monitor. See, please have a look at it. Don't think I'm dragging on and going ahead, but it's very beautiful example, a very useful example, I believe. This is the title page, the contents, and a note to the customers about how to use it. A few words from the manufacturer. Because he manufactured the product, it is in compliance. He is defining a few things and he is suggesting how to use it, etc., etc. For what are the steps to be taken for proper usage. Apart from that, what are the contraindications that you come across and how to identify each and every part in order to use it effectively. After that, you can see the function of each and every specified figure component that is listed over here, symbols and what is the meaning interpretation. After that, using the monitor. Now comes your actual procedure of understanding. So how do I use it? Installing, changing the batteries, caution. If it a word of caution, if you need to change it immediately, if it is at this particular single level of symbol, you need to use only the suggested batteries but not anything else. How to connect the air tube with the cuff, selecting the proper cuff. What is the arm size? According to that, you have to vary the size of the cuff. That is a cloth and the band together. Measurements at heart level. Looking at the figure, after reading this, that's when you will understand and interpret your reading of the blood pressure. Okay, useful features. Measurement with marker button. Lifetime counter. The hours the device was in use. Where, say if I have used it for too long, it needs a maintenance. That is when I should take it for the maintenance service department, and people would set it properly and give me back. Fine, that is up to its usage. Then there are certain troubleshooting aspects. Some problems pop up, and how do I fix them? Problem, possible reason, recommended action. Nothing appears, batteries are empty, replace all the batteries. Device does not take a measurement, readings are too high or too low. The cuff is not fastened properly. Patient moved the arm. The cuff position is not correct. That's when this particular problem arises. So fix it accordingly. Maintenance of the machine or the equipment. It has to be serviced once in 2 years, something like that. Technical data. Model, the entire components used, what do they specify? The technical stuff that which we may not be aware of, but a doctor who uses it has a complete knowledge about it. Fine. This is about it. And finally, the company details. This is a sample manual that I wanted to share with you for today. I have a few more things like a standard operation procedures, that is operations manual, every other thing that I'll be dealing with on Thursday's class. Okay, fine. We stop here for the time being. Let me take out the attendance very quickly.